Hello, it's Mr. Shrum. Welcome back to another lesson from anatomy and physiology. So today we're going to talk about bones of the arm, wrist, and hand. The anatomy of the human arm and hand allows for an enormous range of movement and allows for handling objects both large and small, and the performance of countless tasks. So we're going to learn about the bones of our arm, wrist, and hand. The arm has three bones: the humerus, the radius, and the ulna. The upper portion, the humerus, goes down into the radius and the ulna. The upper arm is known as the brachium. It contains one bone, the humerus. It's a very long bone that goes all along your upper arm. The structure of the humerus includes a head, a neck, and a shaft. And here you can see the rounded upper end of the humerus is the head. It fits like a ball into the glenoid cavity of the scapula. This articulation is often referred to as the shoulder joint. Right there. And the space just below the head is called the neck. It can be divided into the grooved anatomical neck and the inferior surgical neck there. And the neck connects to the shaft, or the long body of the humerus. And then the distal end of the humerus is known as the humeral condyle. It's divided into two surfaces to allow for the attachment of the ulna and radius. The capitulum on the lateral side of the humeral condyle connects to the radius. The medial trochlea articulates with the ulna. So here you can see the trochlea and the capitulum. A lateral and medial epicondyle reside on either side of the humeral condyle. And that means a lateral and medial epicondyle are on both sides of the humeral condyle. And the medial epicondyle is a surface feature that is generally referred to as the funny bone. So if you ever hit your arm and you get this weird sensation of pain and numbness, that's what you're talking about. Additional surface features of the humerus include greater tubercle, lesser tubercle, deltoid tuberosity, intertubercular groove, coronoid fossa, olecranon fossa. And this is the depression in the arm opposite the elbow, right there. So that is your upper arm and the humerus, the long humerus bone. And then lower down on your arm, the forearm is also known as the antebrachium. We have two bones in our forearm, the ulna and the radius. And that shows you the ulna, radius, and then the membrane in between. So first, the ulna is connected to the humerus at the elbow joint. When the palm faces forward, the ulna is medial to the body. And that means on the same side of the pinky finger. So if you take your hand, have your palm facing you, your ulna is on the side of your pinky, running along the side of your forearm. The main surface features of the ulna include the trochlear notch, coronoid process, olecranon process, radial notch. Okay. The ulna connects to the trochlea of the humerus via the trochlear notch, located on the distal end of the ulna. The trochlear notch is sometimes called the semi-lunar notch. If you think it looks somewhat like a moon, crescent moon, that's where that name comes from. The trochlear notch is made up of two processes. We just described them: the coronoid process and the olecranon process. And they are forming the tip of the elbow. The radial notch is located inferior to the coronoid process, and the radial notch houses the head of the radius. So radial, radius, pay attention to the prefixes. So that was the ulna, and then the radius is slightly shorter than the ulna, and it's on the same side of your thumb. So if you face your palm towards you, the radius is on the side of your thumb. The prime surface features of the radius include the radial tuberosity, the radial styloid, and the ulnar notch. And you can see that here. The radial tuberosity is the process on the medial side of the radius, and that's where the biceps attach here. At the distal end of the radius is the head, which includes the ulnar notch and radial styloid. The ulnar notch connects with the head of the ulna. The radial styloid connects to and provides stability for the bones of the wrist at the radiocarpal joint. And in between the radius and the ulna is a fibrous membrane known as the Interoseus Membrane. Now, the hand and wrist, there are more than 50 muscles that move the hand and wrist, making it possible for flexibility and allowing the hands and fingers to manipulate the objects. 8 bones called carpals make up the carpus or wrist. And these bones connect the arm to the hand and they are linked together by gliding joints. This lists the carpal bones here. And here we go. This gray area towards the wrist are all the carpal bones. Distal to the carpus, at the carpometacarpal joint, the bones of the hand begin. So distal towards the fingers, towards the limb, the end of the limb. There's the carpometacarpal joint. The metacarpus is the palm of the hand, and it's composed of 5 metacarpal bones. The metacarpals can be felt through the skin on the posterior of the hand, but are padded by thick tissue on the palm. The heads of the metacarpal bones form metacarpophalangeal phalangeal joints or knuckles. I would go with knuckles. Let me try it again. Metacarpophalangeal joints or knuckles, yeah. And these joints connect then to the phalanges. The phalanges are the finger bones, also called digits. The first 4 phalanges, or fingers, are divided into 3 parts: the proximal phalanges, the middle phalanges, and the distal phalanges. So proximal, middle, and then distal is on the very end of the fingertip, in that order. Now there are interphalangeal joints, and these are hinge joints that connect one phalanx to another. The proximal phalanges are connected distal to the metacarpus and proximal to the middle phalanges, to which they connect at the proximal interphalangeal joints. The middle phalanges are distal to the proximal phalanges and are connected to the distal phalanges at the distal interphalangeal joints. So there's a lot of words and mixed words here. So be careful, and I would draw these out or print out some type of diagram to keep yourself oriented. Where are you in the hand when you're talking about all of these joints and bones? Now, the 5th finger, the thumb, has only 2 phalanges, the proximal phalanges and the distal phalange. They are connected at a distal interphalangeal joint. And in conclusion, the bones of the arms, hands, and wrists give the body a very good range of motion, providing the body with the ability to manipulate objects in many different ways, both large and small. And the further you get towards your hand, you notice how much smaller the bones are. So we have the long humerus, then we have the shorter ulna and radius, and then you have all those carpal bones and phalanges and all that jazz. So be careful if you're asked questions about the hand. You gotta know where you are in relation to everything. But I hope that was helpful for you, and I will see you in the next lesson. Bye-bye.